students. Let's start the part number 4 of the chapter from Vistas. The title of the chapter is The Enemy. We have done 3 parts before that, so kindly watch that video so that you can understand this one, the remaining part. This is the last chapter or the last ending of the story. Okay. So I was talking about the story is about the Japanese doctor and how he was in a dilemma to be or not to be, to save the enemy or to hand over to the police, right? So he was in a dilemma, and after that he also planned to kill the that enemy, but at the end he decided to help him out, and that plan doesn't work. And when he went up to the room of Tom, that is the name of that prisoner, that American enemy, and he saw again that Tom into the room. According to his plan, his and general plan, that he must be killed in the night by the hired killer, but it was not happen. Perhaps Sadao was shocked to see him into the room, and that time Tom was talking about that how humble and how helpful you are, and if all the people or the Japanese were like you, then there will be no war between American and Japanese. Okay, so continue with this. Perhaps Sadam said with difficulty, and now I think you had better to go back to bed. Now, still that the Tom, that American man is very big, so he suggested, or you can say they ordered the man to go to bed because he is very big and he need to stay for a long time, or you can say the bed rest for a while. He helped the boy back into bed and then bowed. Good night, he said. Okay, he helped him to go to bed, and he said good night. Sadam slept badly that night. Time and time again he walked, thinking he heard the rustling of footsteps, the sound of twig broken, or a stone displaced in the garden, a noise such as man might make who carried a burden. Now, I told you that Sadao and the general had make a plan, and according to their plan, the hired killer will come hidely, into the room, and they will kill this American man. So he that night he was also didn't sleep, and again he was hearing the voice of footsteps or the stones, and a stone displaced in the garden. Okay, so he was thinking that that killer came to kill the man. The next morning, he made the excuse to go first into the guest room. Next morning, he went to the guest room, and he saw that if the American were gone, he then could simply tell Hannah that so the general had directed. Okay, so now he was very excited that whether the American boy was there or not. So by making any excuse, he first went to the room to find out about that American man, and he decided that first simply tell Hannah that because he didn't inform Hannah that what was there and general plan, and after that when he didn't see the American man, then he will simply tell the Hannah that this was the plan of general that he had directed. But when he opened the door, he saw at once that there on the pillow was the saggy blonde head. He could hear the peaceful breathing of sleep, and he closed the door again quietly. But what he was thinking was not happened. Instead, he found the American man on the bed, and he was sleeping or snoring, and he could hear the breathing of sleep, peaceful breathing of sleep, and that's why he closed the door again quietly. Okay, he is asleep, he told Hannah. He is almost well to sleep like that. Okay, now he need to sleep like this because he need rest. What shall we do with him? Hannah whispered her old refrain. Now, Hannah was asking that what will we do with this man, that whether we'll kill him or whether we'll hand over to the police. Otherwise, this is trouble for us. Sadao shook his head. I must decide in a day or two, he promised, right? Now here Sadao is hiding something. Already he had made a plan with the general, but he said that let me give time, that I must decide in a 1 or 2 days, that and let me tell you that what we will do with this American. But certainly he thought the second night must be the night. Now on the inside that he was thinking that, because general told him that this night or two three after 2 3 nights we will work on this plan. So he was thinking that maybe this second night, this is the second day, that the higher killer will come and they will kill this American. There rose a wind that night, and we listened the sounds of bending bough and whistling partitions. Okay. Now again there was a in the night he was hearing some noises and whistling partition. That is the noise of the partition he heard. Hannah woke too. Okay, and Hannah was also waking up. And ought we not to go and close the sick man's partition? He asked, and she is replying that can we close the that partition which is in the room of American. So she said to the that doctor that let's go and close the partition, because it's a very there was a wind that night, and the sounds of blending, and the partition is also making noise. That's why they are unable to sleep. That's why she suggested that let's go and close that room, the sick man's partition. No, Sadao said, he is able now to do it for himself. Okay, so Sadao is saying that now that man, that it is this Tom, that American boy is very well, and now if it is noising and he is unable to sleep, then he is himself can close the partition. But that next morning, the American was still there. Now this morning also, that Sada found the man in the room, and that time he was also shocked that why this plan is not working. Then the third night, of course, must be the night. Now again, third time, the Sada was thinking about that this time this plan will work and the killer will come. The wind changed to quiet rain, and the garden was full of sound of dripping eaves and running stream. Now this time also there is a rain, and there is a sound of dripping water and running spring. And this time he was thinking that this is the night that I can see that this killer will come. So now slept a little better, but he woke at the sound of a crash and lifted to his feet. Now, because he is very conscious about this, and that's why he unable to sleep. So he had a little sleep, but he was wake up because of the sound of crash. What was that? Hannah cried. The baby woke at her voice and began to wail. I must go and see. Now, when Hannah was a little bit frightened, and she said that what was that noise? And because of his noise and his voice, his baby woke up, and she said that, and he started crying. I must go and see. And she said that let me go and see. But he had her and would not let her move. But that Sadao didn't want her to go and to see that what was their plan and what the killers were doing. That's why he held her, means he hold her and said that don't move. So now she cried. What is the matter with you? Because this is the unnatural behavior of Sadao. That's why she cried that what are you behaving and what is the matter? Don't go, he muttered, don't go. Now he is only saying that don't go, don't go. His terror infected her, and she stood breathless. Infected means his terror, because right now Sada was terrified, and that terror affected her, and she became breathless. and waiting for what is going on. There was only silence. Okay, there is only silence. Together they crept back into the bed and the baby between them. Now they slept again and they are not going to see that what is happening. Yet, when he opened the door of the guest room in the morning, there was the young man, who was very gay and had already washed and was now on his feet. Now, this morning, when Sada opened the door of the guest room, again he saw this young man, and this time he was very enthusiastic. He washed his head or body and beard and was now on his feet. He was standing on his feet. He had asked for a razor yesterday because he was asking for a razor and had shaved himself today. There was a faint color in his cheeks. Now he had shaved his beard and he was looking very good and there is a faint color on his cheeks. I am well, he said joyously. Now he said with happily that I'm really very well. Sadaf drew his kimono round his very body. He could not, he decided suddenly, go through another night. It was not that he cared for this young man's life. No, simply it was not worth the strain. Now, Sadaf drew his kimono around his very body. उसको किमोनो मतलब जो कवर बॉडी मतलब जो क्लोज होता है उसको ही कवर his body and he could not and he said that no, you are not well. He decided suddenly go through another night. One night you have to go stay there. It was not that he, it doesn't mean that he was not caring about young man's life. No, simply it was not worth of the strain. He was talking about the pain that he was the American boy had. You are well, Sadao agreed. He lowered his voice. Now Sadao says that now you are fine. You are so well that I think if I put my boat on the shore tonight with food and extra clothing in it, you might be able to row to that little island not far from the coast. Sadao says that now you are very fine, and if I'll give you one boat, and if you are that much of well, then if I'll put my boat on, if I'll give you my boat tonight, and with extra food and clothing in it, you can row. Means you can go to that island not far from this coast. यहाँ से तुम जा सकते हो. It is so near the coast that it had not been worth for 45 right? So it is very near that you can row the boat. Nobody lives on it because in the storm it is submerged. Now this is a very lonely island and in one storm this is submerged in the water. So nobody can find you. But this is not the season of storm. You could live there until you saw a Korean fishing boat pass by. Now he suggested that, and right now you don't have any fear because this is not a season of storm, and so that you can still stay there until you find one Korean fishing boat. So that by finding this boat, you can escape from this island. They pass quite near the island because the water is many fathoms deep there, right? So the island, they here the Korean fishing boat passes many times, and that's why you can also take the help of them. The young man stared at him, slowly comprehending. Do I have to? He asked. Now he was staring or gazing him, and do I have to? Then he said that, may I do this? I think so. Sadaf said gently. Yes, I think you can row the boat. You understand, it is not hidden that you are here. Now, it is not possible that we will hide you here. The young man nodded in perfect comprehension. Okay, said simply. Now the young man agreed with the plan of this Sadao. Sadao did not see him again until evening. As soon as it was dark, he had dragged the stout boat down to the shore, and in it he put food and bottled water that he had brought secretly during the day, as well as two quilts he had brought at a pawn shop. Now here, Sadao did not see him for the whole day because he was busy in buying the food and bottled water for this American. and he also secretly that he did secretly, as well as he gave two quills means two blankets, which he had bought from pawn shop. Pawn shop means what, which type of shop in which you give one something valuable things, or instead of that valuable things you buy something, and if you will not return that things, they will get your valuable things, and you will not they will not return your valuable things. So this is type of points of वहां से वो tools लेके आता है. The boat he tied to a post in the water, for the tide was high, right? That is very high. There was no moon, and he worked without flashlight. Or because of this weather, there was a no cloud, there was no room, and he worked without flashlight. Because if he used the flashlight, then some soldier and Japanese soldier can police can catch him. When he came to the house, he entered as though he were just back from his work, as and so Hannah knew nothing. And right now, Hannah was knowing nothing that what he had done. Yumi was here today, she said as she served his supper. Now they are preparing. They are having a supper. Supper means very light dinner, light meal in the evening, in the night, right? So she said that Yumi came today. Though she was so modern, still she did not eat with him, right? So she is modern, but she is not eating with him, because she is a servant. Yumi cried over the baby. She went on with a sigh. She misses him so much. Now Yumi was also missing and crying because she missed the baby, and she was telling us. Hannah is telling this story, this about Yumi's visit to the Sadao. The servants will come back as soon as the foreigner is gone. Sadao said. Sada says that when this American will go, our servants will definitely come back. He went into the guest room that night before he went to bed himself and checked carefully the American's temperature. Now you can see that how uh, how helpful this man is. Here you can see that he went to the room and tried to check out the temperature of the body. So now again he finds the same that American. He went to the room and tried to find out that how is the temperature of that boy. Now here you can see the humbleness and the kindness of the doctor. Though he was planning to kill him, and again he also helped him to escape from this country. The state of the wound and his heart and pulse. Okay, everything he checked, not only the temperature, how is the wound, and how is the heart pulse. Okay, the pulse was irregular, but that was perhaps because of excitement. Now here he found that the pulse was irregular, but it may be because of he is very excited to go his home. The young man's pale lips were pressed together and his eyes burned. Only the scars on his neck were red. Now here there is a description of that how this boy is. वो कैसा लग रहा है, that is he had a pale lips as well as scars on his neck is just red. I realize you are saving my life again, he told Sadao. Now this American man says that again you are saving my life, first by saving and by operating on me, and right now by escaping from this country. Not at all, Sadao said. It is only inconvenient to have you here any longer. Now I don't think that this is inconvenient for us that to say help you, right, to stay here. It is having a trouble to us, that's why we are helping you. He had hesitated a good deal about giving the man a flashlight, but he had decided to give it to him after all, right? First he said that I'm not going to give you this flashlight he doesn't want to give him, but then after he decided that okay, I'll give you the flashlight, मैं आपको flashlight दूंगा. Now it was small one, his own, which he used at night when he was called. Now this flashlight he used when someone called him for emergency and at night. Okay, if your food runs out because you catch a boat, he said, signal me two flashes at the same instant the sun drops over the horizon. Now this island is very nearer, so now how kind he still, that if your food runs out, and if you don't have food and there is no food remaining in your boat, then signal me two flashes. Now you have to do two flashes when the sun drops over the horizon. Now when there is a sunset, horizon means when the earth and the skies meet together. There is a one line, there is a horizon. So that time you do two flashes so that I can understand that you need something and you need help. Do not signal in darkness. Okay, he instructs saying that don't signal in darkness. Sorry, why in darkness? For it will be seen, because it will be seen. If you do this in a dark, then it will be seen by the soldiers. And though I told you that this is the lonely island and there is no one, that's why it will catch the eyes of the police. Okay, if you are all right but still there, signal me once. Okay, if you are all right and if you still there, if you are still there on an island for how many time, how many days, signal me once. Okay, if you are there and then signal me once, and if you need any help, then signal me two flashes. You will find fresh fish easy to catch, but you must eat them raw. A fire would be seen. Now again is that if you need to eat fish, then you can catch the fish from the island, but you have to eat it raw, because if you fire, then it will be seen again by the soldiers. Okay, the young man agreed. Okay, now the young man said, okay, I understand. Okay. But after a week, Sadao felt the general was well enough to be spoken to about the prisoner. Okay. Okay. He was dressed now in the Japanese clothes which Sadao had given him, and at the last moment, Sadao wrapped the black cloth about his blonde head. Right now, he gave him the Japanese clothes so that nobody can recognize him, as well as he also wrapped a black cloth on the head so that his blonde head, that white and that is golden hair, could not be seen by the other. Now, Sadao said, now you are ready, you can go. The young man without a word shook Sadao's hand warmly, that he shook his hand with a respect and warmly, then walked quite well across the floor and down the step into the darkness of the garden. Now, so he stepped out of the darkness of the garden. Once, twice, Sadao saw his light flash to find his way. Now he was seeing the light that that man was using. He waited until from the shore there was one more flash. Now again he saw one flash and there was one another flash. Then he closed the partition. That night he slept. And then after he closed the partition, and that night he was able to sleep. You say the man escaped, the general asked faintly. He had been operated upon a week before, an emergency operation to which Sadao had been called in the night. Now here Sadao was called to operate on the general. We have talked about this general that he needed to be operated, and that time the general asked faintly. Faintly means he was unconscious and he was asking that you say the man escaped. Now he was asking that man was escaped. For 12 hours, Sadao had not been sure the general would live. Right now here they are thinking about that whether he would live or not for 24 hours. The gallbladder was much involved. Now here they had done operation on a gallbladder, so that is why they were waiting that whether he would live or not. Then the old man had begun to breathe deeply again and to demand food. Now again the operation was success, and he started breathing and he was demanding food. Sadao had not been able to ask about the assassins. Assassin means the hired killer. So far as he knew, they had never come. Okay, now he is not asking about this assassin, the hired killer, because they didn't came and they never come to kill the that American boy. The servant had ridden and Yumi had cleaned and the guest room thoroughly and had burned sulfur in it to get the white man's smell out of it. Now Yumi and the other servant came back, and Yumi, the maid servant, cleaned the whole house as well as the guest house, and also burned sulfur, one type of that element, to get rid of that smell of that American man. Nobody said nothing. Only the gardener was cross because he had got behind with his Siranthanamus. Now, Siranthanamus is one type of flower which would be plant during this time, and that's why the time is gone because because of they left the house, and that's why the gardener was murmuring, or he was talking about that the time is gone for planting this flower. But after a week, Sadao felt the general was well enough to be spoken to about the prisoner. Now, after operating that man, now the Sadao was thinking that now he can speak about that prisoner to the general. Yes, excellency, he escaped. Sadao now said. Now he said that with excellency he escaped. He coughed, signifying that he had not said all he might have said, but was unwilling to disturb the general further. Now he would not like to disturb the general because he is still having unconsciousness and weakness. But the old man opened his eyes suddenly, and after hearing the name of that man, American man, the general suddenly opened his eyes. That prisoner, he said with some energy, and here you can see the energy in the voice of the general that you are talking about that prisoner. Did I not promise you, I would kill him for you? Means now here he was forgetting that what he had promised him to kill that man. You did, Excellency, Sadao said. Yes, you told me that, and you promised me that we'll do this. This is the plan that will hire the killer. Well, well, the old man said in a tone of amazement. Now he was is in amusement that what he had planned and promised to the Sadao, he didn't do it. So I did, but you see, I was suffering a good deal. The truth is, I thought of nothing but myself. In short, I forgot my promise to you. Now, this general is giving the excuses and the reason that what happened. That you can see that how was I was suffering, and the truth is that I thought of nothing but about myself. In short, I forgot my promise to you. I wonder, Your Excellency, Sadao murmured. Now, Sadao is also saying that I wonder that you are very excellent in your duties. I was certainly very careless of me, the general said. Now, this is very careless that I didn't remember my promise. But you understand, it was not lack of patriotism or dereliction of duty. He looked anxious at his doctor. Now, here the general is giving the excuses that I forgot my promise. It's not about that I am not a patriotic, or I forgot, or I irresponsible about my duty. He looked anxious at his doctor, that he is very anxious, and he is saying that if the matter should come out, you understand that, wouldn't you, right? So he said that if this is not the matter of about my health, then definitely I'll never forget my promise. Certainly, Your Excellency, Sadao said. Yes, you are right. He suddenly comprehended that the general was in the palm of his hand, and that has a consequences he himself are perfectly safe. Now, the general is saying that I am in the hand of his doctor, and that's why right now I am very perfect, and I am very feeling very safe in you, in your hand as you are operating on me. I can swear to you to your loyalty, Excellency. Now here the general is saying that I can give you swear that you are a very loyal person. He said to old general and to your zeal against the enemy. And I also understand that how enthusiastic against the enemy you are. You are a good man, the general murmured and closed his eyes. You will be rewarded. And he said that, Doctor, you are a very good man and very excellent and very skilled man, and you will be rewarded. But Sadao, searching the spot of black in the twilight sea that night, had his reward. Now, Sada was searching for that flashlight at the twilight, and he didn't find, and that is his reward. There was no flick of light in the dusk, and there was no flashlight in the dusk. No one was on the island, and he said that there was no one because he said that if you were there, then have one flashlight. So he didn't find a single flashlight. It means that he was escaped. The prisoner was escaped. His prisoner was gone safe. Now he is gone safe, doubtless. There is no doubt. For he had warned him to work only for a Korean fishing boat because he said that he can find the Korean fishing boat so that he can escape. He stood for a moment for a veranda, gazing out to the sea from whence the young man had come that other night. Okay, now after that he felt so relaxed, and at that time he stood in the veranda, and that time he was gazing at the sea from where that prisoner, that young man came into the house. And into his mind, although without vision, there came other white faces he had known. And after that, after he was thinking about the prisoner, that is American, and then after another thoughts comes about the white faces means other American faces that he had known previously. And which are those white faces or Americans? And the first one is the professor, okay, that whose house he had met, that at whose house, that on in this house, in professor's house, he met Hannah, a dull man. And he also remembers his wife, and who is very silly and talkative man, in spite of her wish to be kind, and but she is very kind. He also remembered his old teacher of anatomy. His old teacher of anatomy also remember, who had been so insistent on mercy with the knife. And then he remembered the face of his pet. Okay, so now how to have a cut on a body, that who taught this teacher, that's why old teacher he was remembering. And then he remembered the face of his fat planetary landlady. So landlady means where he was staying, that he was also remembering the face of that fat landlady. He had given difficulty in finding a place in live in America because he was Japanese. So he was also thinking about that how difficult for him to stay in America and to get a shelter in America, being the Japanese. The Americans were full of prejudice, right? They are very much prejudice, and it had been bitter to live in. And to live in it is a very bitter for him, knowing himself their superiors. Now they are thinking that we are superiors, though in America you have to be under the control of Americans. How he had despised the ignorant and dirty old woman who had last consented to house him in her miserable home, right? So after so many difficulties, he got the house in this in miserable home. That is the home that is in a very it's not a good condition home. उसको वहाँ पे पीजी में लिया था. He had once tried to be grateful to her because she had in his last year nursed him through influenza. Influenza is one type of virus, and in which that the doctor had a fever. At that time, this lady that nursed him, though he was knowing that he is a Japanese, but it was difficult, for she was no less repulsive to him in her kindness, right? Though she was like this, but she is very kind to him. Now he remembered the youthful hazard face of his prisoner, white and repulsive. Now again he was remembering that American youth, that man and that prisoner whose face is white and repulsive. Strange, he thought. He was thinking it's strange. I wondered why could not kill him, and he was still wondering that why I am unable to kill him. And the answer is, you can see that there is a mixed emotions of hate and kindness in the character of both Dr. Sada and Hannah. Okay, I hope you understand this story. It is a very beautiful story. And write down the question answer in your notebook and prepare it. Okay, thank you so much.